Okay, so what do you think? Weather-related migraines? Are they a myth or are they a fact? It's a beautiful day outside when all of a sudden cold and warm air mix to create shifts in the barometric air pressure. There's a storm brewing, and for many suffering with migraines, you are about to feel that pressure in your head. You don't need to turn on the weather channel or to look out the window. You know, because your head already knows. Quite a few research studies show weather does not play a role in migraines, yet there are an alarming amount of people that totally beg to differ. On the flip side, there are many studies that show that even a small decrease or increase in pressure can impact migraine pain, a fact for which I am sure many of you right now are shaking your head, yes, in total agreement, right? That was definitely me. According to the Cleveland Clinic, because your nasal and sinus cavities, they're air channels. And any change in that pressure, any imbalance in that sinus cavity and within the inner ear, especially a fall in barometric pressure, it affects those areas and can actually cause a fluid imbalance leading to pain. Barometric pressure change may also affect the pressure on your brain, causing increased blood flow and the ability to your brain to block that pain signal. Now, there was a survey that was conducted by the National Headache Foundation that said 3 out of every 4 people say that weather triggered their head pain. And I used to be one of those 3 out of 4. I did not need to look out the window to know what was going on weather-wise. I already knew before it even happened. Today, I admit, if I don't have a window to look out, I have no idea what's happening weather-wise outside. I'll share a bit more about that in a minute on how I went from being the really best weather woman, just using my neck and head, that pain as a guide, to weather shifts really being something that doesn't impact my pain at all because I don't have the pain anymore. The International Headache Society says that there are several conditions that can bring on a weather-related migraine. Things like temperature shifts or dry conditions, storms coming in, barometric pressure changes, bright light from the sun, and humidity changes. So knowing this information, does this mean that you're actually destined to a life with migraines every single time the weather changes? Do you actually need to uproot your family and move to avoid the weather shifts where you are? I cannot tell you how many women I meet who do just this. They sell their house, they find a new job, they put their kids in new schools. And once they're settled, they realize that their entire life has changed, except for the one main reason that they moved to begin with, their migraines. The good news is, though, even though you can't control the weather, you can control how it impacts your health and head. No moving van required. First, you may want to determine if you're actually having weather-related migraines, if that's actually a trigger. Now, I admit, I feel this really isn't a great use of your precious time, but for some of you that really want to know, you can do that. So if you are one of those women, then you can do this by tracking your migraines for a few months. The key to tracking is you can't just track the weather and pain, but instead you must track everything, which is really not easy. The key with tracking your migraine symptoms and daily life is to determine if weather is causation or correlation. Now, correlation is like noticing it often rains when you have a migraine. It's tempting to kind of think that those raindrops are drumming against your head, causing the issue. But correlation means that things happen together without proving one cause to the other. Causation, though, is a totally different beast. If we find out that the thunderstorms indeed trigger your migraines, that is causation. We have enough evidence to say that the storm outside isn't just kind of hanging out in the backdrop. it's actively contributing to your migraines. So while the weather might seem like it's against you, it's about finding out if it truly is or if it's something else entirely. So if you do decide that you're one of those people that you want to go this route and spend the time to track your migraines around weather patterns, make sure you are tracking sleep and stress and exercise, food, water, toxins, etc., all of it. If you do not track everything, there will be no way to determine if you are experiencing causation versus correlation. Now, if you're a little concerned, man, that's a lot to track. I don't want to miss something. I really suggest you grab our migraine success tracker, which I will walk you through step by step on how to do this process. The link's in show notes, so make sure you grab it. And don't forget, you actually get a free audit with that tracker. So once you are done filling out the information, you can actually meet with myself or a member of my team, and we will literally walk through that tracker step by step with you. Now, you can also use quick fix devices if you don't want to do the tracker and you just want a little bit of management relief. You can use those devices like earplugs, that are made to actually regulate the airflow in and out of your ear canal. It kind of slows down that shift in barometric pressure. The problem is with this, though, you always need to be monitoring the pressure and ensure that you have your earplugs with you at all times so that when that shift happens, you can pop them in right away. It's really not a convenient fix, but it's a Band-Aid fix for many, right? Now, if you like things a little bit more simplistic like I do, because you really you have no spare time, since for you, migraine symptoms are eating up a lot of your spare time, right? So if this is you and you just want something simple, you need to shift your focus to the migraine threshold. Because the migraine threshold is about supporting thousands of women to actually teach them how to figure out how weather and other things are actually impacting their head. And this will actually bring you to a root cause solution. Now, if you haven't listened to our podcast episode on understanding and utilizing your migraine threshold, after this episode, make sure you jump back to episode 3 so that you fully understand how to utilize this concept for a lot sunnier days with a lot less storms in your head. Raising your migraine threshold, it really involves figuring out how many triggers that you can withstand before getting the migraine and finding ways to actually increase this limit. By raising your threshold, you are less sensitive to common uncontrollable triggers like weather and scent and hormones and light. So living under and learning how to raise your migraine threshold, it really is the key, not only to dealing with weather shifts, but in your total migraine freedom. Think about this as an example. If it's a day that I have my monthly period, I don't sleep well, I skipped exercise, maybe I grab fast food for lunch. If a thunderstorm rolls in, the odds are higher that I might get a migraine. But, if it's a day that I actually got 8 hours of sleep, I did yoga, I had a chicken salad for lunch, and a storm rolled in, I am way under my migraine threshold. So if you have a nice high threshold, that storm might not impact your head. Now, I want you to go back and think about that day that was really bad, right? With the skipping exercise and grabbing the fast food and the thunderstorm rolling in. All of those things are impacting your threshold. So was it the migraine? Was the migraine from the storm? Or was it from the lack of sleep? Or was it from the bad food? Or was it from the combination of all of those things? And the weather was the final straw. This is where raising your migraine threshold and learning to live under it is key. And I want you to know that this does take time. It took me about a year to do this, to find total migraine freedom. Now, I definitely was pushing back on many things. I'm sure I could have done it a little bit quicker, but I was definitely stubborn about not wanting to give some things up for a short period of time. So the average is really about 4 months. What I've learned through that extensive research, through the certifications that I've received, and using myself as a guinea pig, I can now help women do this in about 4 months worth of time. So if you need more information on how you can actually raise your threshold and learn to end migraines by living well below your upper limits, make sure after you check out podcast episode number 3, Understanding and Utilizing Your Migraine Threshold, make sure that you reach out in the Women's Migraine Freedom Group so that we can give you our extensive video training right on that topic that goes even deeper into the concept to help you find those pain-free days. Because raising your threshold, as I mentioned, it's not going to happen overnight. It typically takes some time, but you don't have to worry once you've done that, because once you've got that nice, great big threshold and you know how to live under it, you have the tools that you need and the strategies that you need to actually help lower your pain and bring yourself to migraine freedom. Now, in the meantime, there are a few things that you can do to kind of give you those little band-aids to help you before that threshold does get high. So number one of the greatest things that you can do outside is just wear sunglasses. Wear your sunglasses to protect your eyes and minimize your chance of a migraine attack due to bright lights. You can make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Drink that plenty of water to make sure that there is no dehydration, helping raise your threshold. Make sure you inform yourself about weather fronts for now. Track weather patterns to be proactive and prepare for change. And monitor that pressure, that barometric pressure. You can easily track it on an app or a digital barometer, and that's going to warn you of these weather shifts so that you can actually take some steps before the storm gets here. And you can also work on avoiding other migraine triggers during times that you know the weather is fluctuating a lot. We can't control the weather, right? So learning to take control of the rest of our environment and our lifestyle to live well below that threshold is really key. This is the number one strategy to your migraine freedom. So skip the wine and grab water. Turn off Netflix and go to bed. Make a salad and skip the drive-through. Each small choice adds up to big results. Now, I know how crucial this is to so many of you, because remember, I felt it. Every storm that came in, I felt. So I put together a guide that breaks down this concept into actionable steps for you. It is designed for the woman that has no time, like me. It is straightforward, it is practical, and it is aimed at providing actual relief for you. So if you are ready to actually explore how the weather might be affecting your migraines, I encourage you to go take a look at the guide that's in the show notes, dive in, and let's navigate this journey together. And if you want even more info on how to achieve more pain-free days when the weather isn't cooperating, make sure you join us over in the Women's Migraine Freedom Group and check out our library of training guides to get you started. To ensure that you are always up to date with the latest information on migraine freedom, simply hit the follow button on this podcast. This way you will not miss out on any of the insights that could be the key to unlocking more pain-free days. And if these episodes have touched you or helped you in any way, shape, or form, please consider leaving a review. Your words could be the hope for another woman suffering from migraines, searching for solutions just like you are.